So we all watched Indiana absolutely thump Oregon in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. But it wasn't just impressive, this was truly a shockingly dominant performance. I mean, Indiana won by 10 times what the spread was. And this isn't the first time this has happened this year either. This Indiana team is incredible, and what Curt Cignetti is building is something special. When you watch a team as good as that Oregon team was lose by 34 points in a college football semifinal game, a lot of people are going to start asking questions. How did this happen? And I do think everybody has reached the conclusion. It's Curt Cignetti. But what specifically is Cignetti actually doing? Well, we may have cracked the code. It's time to start looking at some birth certificates. And no, I don't have any on me, so don't get your hopes up. The average age of the Indiana Hoosiers this season is 23 years old. For some perspective, the average age of the Packers this season, the Green Bay Packers, the professional football team, is 25. Generally speaking, when you talk about college-aged kids, you're talking 18 to 22. The average age of Indiana's roster is above that range. And the big question everybody is asking is, well, how is this possible? How can Curt Cignetti build a team like this? And to find out exactly how Cignetti gets this done, we have to get really familiar with something called the transfer portal. To help us grasp what's really going on here, don't worry, I prepared some material. So here, as you can see, this is a graph that shows how talented players are and where they end up falling. This is the old way things were, okay? You've got the SEC and the Big Ten that are getting the top of the talent. The Big 12 and the ACC are still right in there with some of those big dogs. But then the rest of these guys fall to the G5, JUCO, NAIA. That's how it was. But pay attention to this curve. As we flip over to the way things are now, you can see this curve is much flatter. So at the top, we've got anybody who's got oil money. These are the guys that are going to get the top of the top talent. And then Big Ten and SEC are really competing with each other now because the SEC can't pay anyone behind closed doors. The Big 12 and the ACC really aren't that far behind. And then the G5 is right here. It's still relatively flat, and everyone else falls behind. And the question is, why is this so flat? Why are there so many more talented players? And we've talked about this before, but generally speaking, players are less likely to sit behind other starters now. Before, you would have had guys who would stay at Georgia as a second and a third stringer and wait for their time to be the starter, versus now they're totally okay with spending a year at Georgia and then transferring out and becoming a starter somewhere else. And as you can see, basically what that does is raises the talent across the entire board. And when you raise the talent level like that, it's no longer about how many 5 stars do you have, how many 4 stars do you have, what's your percentage of blue chippers. You have to find a way to differentiate yourself. And Curt Cignetti, he took a magnifying glass to write the differentiator. Ladies and gentlemen, let's zoom in. Old dudes. That's right, Curt Cignetti has found that the age of his roster is what can set him apart. While everyone else is worried about 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, what were they coming out of high school, Curt Cignetti understands the value of experience. A player might have come out of high school as a 2-star, maybe a 3-star, potentially even unranked, but as he spends time at the college level, it gets used to the speed, learns how systems work, understands how to study film. Those stars are building up in the background. So the question is this sustainable? Can Cignetti do this year over year, or can other teams replicate this? I mean, you're probably looking at Trinidad Chambliss, who just had his 6th year of eligibility revoked, and saying, well, the NCAA is getting back to the way things were before COVID. Remember before 2020 when you really didn't see a whole lot of 6-year, 7th year, 8th year guys? 5 years was the max. And then once COVID years were introduced, all bets were off. Nothing made sense anymore. It felt like the NCAA didn't really have enough of a spine to push back on that and get things back to the way they were. But now with the Chambliss news, is this the new wave? And I would argue no, because you still have the court case of Pavia versus NCAA. Remember that Diego guy that didn't quite win the Heisman and then crashed out? He was not happy about that. Now players can play at the JUCO level and not affect their NCAA eligibility. They can play 2 years and not start their clock. So you've effectively raised the age of college players from 18 to 22 to 20 to 24. Add in a few red shirts, medical red shirts. I mean, you're looking at, you could field a team of 25-year-olds. Reference the average age of the Green Bay Packers I brought up earlier. Of course, you're going to have a few guys like Jeremiah Smith or Malachi Toney who are going to come out early. They might even come into college before they were supposed to graduate high school and dominate. There are guys like that out there. But on the average, I'd be willing to take a bet that even I, a 24-year-old who is in that range, who had no stars coming out of high school, had no offers. I mean, it was zero, radio silence, zilch. I could probably take on a fair amount of 18-year-olds. I really don't know where I would fit in a scheme, but my point is age, experience, development matters, and Cignetti has found that. I think that's what we're going to be looking at over the next 5 years, is not really who can build the most talent coming out of high school, who can build the most experience, the most developed roster, which is really too bad for those high school kids because we've completely reshaped then what the path looks like. You don't go from high school to Ohio State to the NFL. Now it's become, you go from high school to JUCO to low G5 school. You get an opportunity at a Power 4 school. If you impress, great, you can move on. If you haven't, you might move to a different Power 4 school, then you can go to the NFL. The path has changed a lot. But if we've learned anything from this year and the dominance of Indiana, and we understand the fact that the NFL is a copycat league, it definitely happens at the college level as well, we will start to see these teams get older and older and older. It's not really an if, it is much more of a when situation. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Who do you think is going to win the national title game? I have Indiana by however much they want. If you agree with me, the subscribe button down below is completely free. And shout out to you specifically. I see you out there. I appreciate you. Catch you in the next one.